What's up, guys? So for anyone who's seen my channel, you probably already know that I'm a bit of a horror freak. Wouldn't actually say horror freak, more just like horror movies, horror games, things of that genre. So today we're going to be ranking all of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. A lot of them are really good, a lot of them are really shitty. Well, more of them are actually shitty than good. The weird thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is most of them are a direct continuance of the first one. So the first one's canon in like every single Texas Chainsaw universe. But any other movie they made is more of a sequel to the first one. It's never really a continuance of like 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. It's more just a sequel to the first movie that came out. So I guess you could think of it as a bunch of different timelines. And I gotta give it to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for being one of the first like forerunners of slasher horror. I mean, there's been a lot before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a lot after, but none that really stuck. I'd have to say it's one of the forefathers, kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Scream. And a lot of those movies aren't the best either, but they do have a genuine consistency of the murderer, in this case, Leatherface, kind of just being this crazy murdering guy who's killing a bunch of people. And that's what gives the slasher genre its oomph, I'd say. Genuine consistency of this one particular killer in every single movie, kind of just adding to his kill count. Me and my wife just recently watched all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, and it made me think of the idea to do this video. And all things considered, it would only make sense to start with the first one, considering that every other movie is just a continuance of it.
What appeared to be a grisly work of art, the remains of a badly decomposed body wired to a large monument.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974, we're going to give it a 9 out of 10. So the first one follows the story of a group of friends who are going to visit an old family farm in Texas, and they fall prey to the cannibalistic family of the Sawyers. Something I really like about this movie is that it's not just Leatherface who's really this psychotic killer, although he is probably out of all of them the most psychotic. It's actually his whole family. So the whole Sawyer family is a group of inbred, cannibalistic, murdering people. And we don't actually even meet Leatherface first. We actually meet his brother first, who they pick up as a hitchhiker. When we do see Leatherface for the first time, he comes out of fucking nowhere wearing another person's face. And he is genuinely terrifying. Like, you look at old movies nowadays like The Exorcist and you think, like, how is anyone scared of this? No, if you watch this movie today, even though it was made 50 years ago, you would totally get why this scared the shit out of people a long time ago. He's just this huge brute that manhandles everyone that he fights in the movie while simultaneously wielding a chainsaw. The story's really good too. It ends with the one survivor that many of the other sequels try to like expand on. They try to bring her back as like, the one who wants to kill Leatherface or the one that got away. But sadly, they never really do it justice. But to most fans, this is the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre that's ever came out, with a lot of iconic moments in it. Next, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, which is out on Netflix, and this is genuinely the worst fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I've ever seen. I feel like franchises should know by now that the worst thing you can do to your movie is to add woke ideology to it, but they just went ahead and did it anyways.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
And not to turn this ranking system into anything political, but they just genuinely went over the top on their agenda. The movie felt more about social justice, social media, and school shooting than it did about Leatherface. The main character in this movie is a school shooter survivor who has like PTSD and like won't touch a gun. And to make matters even worse, they brought back Sally, the girl who got away from the first one, and she's a fucking loser in this movie. Like, they really try to portray her as this like badass who's coming back to kill Leatherface, but she just gets fucking tanked like immediately fighting him, and then her whole character is just shot after that. Like, wow, good job. You brought back the one survivor just for her to get killed by Leatherface. Okay, so like, I guess her survival didn't mean shit. And just to give you a basis on what I mean by the agenda they're trying to push, here's a couple clips from this absolutely terrible movie.
Who has such a small dick they need to walk around in public with a fucking gun?
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
I couldn't find it, but there's another part of the movie where the main character is talking to the contractor about his diesel truck and just basically calling him a gas guzzler that doesn't care about society. And to be honest, this guy right here is the main antagonist of the entire movie. Due to some complications with the bank and the title of the property, he kicks out Leatherface's adoptive mother of her own home, which in turn kind of makes her go into shock, have a heart attack, and die because she's getting kicked out of her own property, which in turn makes Leatherface super revengeful and wants to kill all of them, which he ends up doing. But in theory, if this guy never kicked the old lady out of her own house, then Leatherface wouldn't have killed any of them, and then there would be no movie, which would have been for the best, because this movie fucking sucks. I do find it funny though that a lot of people online are torn between whether they think it's a woke movie or a right movie that's making fun of woke ideology. I found this post on Reddit that I think is pretty funny. It says, just watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, and are the writers even professional to turn it into an agenda movie? Did they seriously think that a slasher for an audience that wants to have a fun time, good conclusion, and story A+ will sit through their woke writing? Which someone replied, horror has always been and always will be political. Horror has always been a place for the marginalized to tell their story undercover, or in the closet, if you will. Which I'd have to disagree. See, someone else also posted Texas Chainsaw Massacre definitely pushed vegetarianism, and it fit well in the 70s. Which I guess some people would see vegetarianism as like a left-leaning thing, but I mean, I know people on both sides that are vegetarians. And they're talking about one of the characters in the first one that was vegetarian, which when you look at it all together, it doesn't really hold any water to what this new movie did. See, a character in the old movie being a vegetarian isn't exactly the same as having a whole subplot of the agenda they tried to push in this movie. Which, if you don't believe me, I'd suggest watching the movie for yourself. I highly don't recommend it because it's a bad movie, but it's just not the same. And then someone posted, usually I hate remakes with a passion, but if this one pisses off backwards thinking right-wingers, I love it without even seeing it. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, there's a little taste of just how shit this movie is. It's literally torn our nation apart. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, we're going to give it a 2 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 1 out of 10 is because some of the kills Leatherface does in this movie is actually pretty cool. Next on the list, we're going to be doing Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which, wouldn't you know it, I feel like I almost spoke too soon about calling the last one the worst. Although the last one that we just did really was the worst one, this one just feels like the most forgettable Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie they made. I almost don't even want to go over this one too much. See, in the beginning credits, they let us know that Sally died in the hospital, while they also cameo the survivor of the second one. And it just almost feels like the directors really didn't know how to make this film or what direction to go in. Because Leatherface has a new family, a bunch of people that we've never seen before, and when you call a movie the third movie, like you have the number 3 after it, you would think that it's a continuance of the first one and the second one, but it's not. The kills in this one are alright at best, and the storyline is just not something that I can see grasping a large audience. Something I find funny about this movie is that although Leatherface I think does look pretty menacing in this one, he looks nothing and acts nothing like he did in the trailer of the movie that came out in the 1990s, which might be the most mediocre trailer I've ever seen, and it really looks like they tried to steez off of Friday the 13th. I just feel like the director had no compass of what to do with this movie, so for that reason we're going to get it a 2.5 out of 10.
Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
The next on the list is going to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, and I'm going to try to be unbiased on this one considering this is the only one that I remember as a kid, and I actually kind of like it. Although it does get a lot of shit for having really bad acting, which it does, there's something about it that I kind of enjoy. It almost feels like they purposely tried to act bad in this movie for like some comical effect, but oddly enough, they got Matthew McConaughey to play in this movie, and he actually plays as the main villain above Leatherface. And for some reason, they try to link this movie with a couple of the other ones that came out before it. With the opening credits, they bring up that 2 minor incidents happened outside of the first one, but then they go on to make the movie with a whole different family and a different last name. No longer the Sawyer family, it's now the Slaughter family. How fucking original. But as weird as it may sound, the movie actually gets better the longer you watch it. It starts out in the beginning with some really bad acting of some prom kids, but later in the story it does get pretty in-depth, and they do bring back Leatherface's iconic meat hook. And to be honest, Leatherface in this movie is not that cool, but I really do like Matthew McConaughey's character. Between the third one that we just did and this movie, I would say this movie does a lot better justice about making like a new family for Leatherface that's really psychotic. And they have the new main character as Renee Zellweger, which I think is a pretty cool addition to the series, even though she never comes back in any of the other ones. So Matthew McConaughey plays Vilmer, which is like the head of the household, and he's kind of like the brains of the operation of killing everybody. And him and his girlfriend live in the constant conspiracy theory that he needs to kill these people because he's hired by the people who actually run the world, and they're basically basically telling him to kill these people like it's literally his job to be a murderer. And the main character gives his girlfriend shit like you're an idiot for believing him in that, but holy shit was he telling the truth. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it too much, so that's as far as I'll go with that part of it.
No one is gonna stop me. You sit the fuck down!
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, will be getting a 5 out of 10. A lot of people watch these movies to see Leatherface be the killer, which he is in all of them, but a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies really try to recreate the family as a group of killers, and I don't think any of them do it that well, and this one I would say they do a really good job of it. Up next, we got Leatherface 2017, and this is a weird one to say the least. They show the childhood of Leatherface in this one, which I do like the idea of. I don't think they did a good job of it. They don't go super in depth on his childhood, but they do show some of his earliest killings, and to give you a bit of an opening to this movie, it starts out with a couple driving and almost hitting a pig, which weirdly enough is actually Leatherface crawling on the road like a pig. He jumps up and says he needs help, which the girl comes and tries to help him, but he just leads him back to the family farm where him and his family kill her. But that wasn't the daughter of just anybody, it was the daughter of the fucking sheriff! So anyways, he wanted to just start blasting, which he couldn't because a bunch of his other cop buddies were around. So what he decided to do was take all the children away from Ann Sawyer, which is the mother of the Sawyer family, and in this movie, the main antagonist. And that all happens in like the first 5 minutes of this movie. And while I was watching this movie, I really thought it was like a standalone movie. Like I didn't think it was connected to any of the other Leatherfaces. I thought they were just kind of trying to make their own story in their own way, like a remaster. But it is actually a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974 and a direct prequel to Texas Chainsaw 3D. And Leatherface 2017 is totally going to be getting a 3 out of 10. It just didn't seem like the movie needed to be made, or at least in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe. Like you could have made this movie by itself and not even call it anything related to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Leatherface. It could have been its own movie on its own. Again, I do like that they brought in the childhood aspect of Leatherface, but they did not do it justice with this. And it may seem weird in the order that I'm ranking these movies, but just to let y'all know, it really doesn't matter. Every single movie they've made outside of the first one is just a direct sequel to the first one, with the exception of some of the remakes and this one being a prequel. So please don't like in any way think that I'm skipping over anything. There's nothing to skip over. The timelines of this series are very hard to understand. So now we're getting into Texas Chainsaw 3D. So to understand the timeline of this, it goes like this. Leatherface 2017 happens. Then the original happens after that, the 1974 original movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then after that, this movie happens, Texas Chainsaw 3D. And out of all of them, this movie has the most cringe lines. Like they try to do one-liners a little bit in this movie, and it does not hit. It is very cringe. I'll show you in a minute. So the movie starts out with the entire Sawyer family dying. Like all of them die. Every single one of them except Leatherface. And except Heather Miller, his cousin. Which she doesn't know she's related to a family of incestual, cannibalistic killers. And she's raised by a different family who is very white trash, but honestly better than being in the house of the Sawyers. She only finds out she's a Sawyer when she inherits the Sawyer family house from her grandmother, Verna Carson, who leaves it to her as part of her will. She was only a couple months old when her whole family died, so she doesn't remember any of it. So she gets the house, she brings her boyfriend and a couple friends over, and very slowly but surely they all start getting killed by Leatherface. And to get back to the cringy aspect that I was talking about, the directors thought it'd be a great idea to add lines in the movie like this.
Welcome to Texas, motherfucker!
Holy shit, that was bad. It's okay though, because they make up this movie with the 3D. They throw 3D chainsaws at you. All 3D. For some reason, I remember actually kind of liking the movie when I watched it, but going back and like editing this video, I find myself not really fucking with it at all. And this was around the time when they were making horror movies like more about sex than about the actual horror. Like they got the girls half naked in a lot of shots, her boyfriend's cheating on her, they added a bunch of like relationship aspects to it. And I'm not hating on it for that, I'm more hating on it for this.
Do your thing, cuz.
Like, bro, no fucking way. Do your thing, cuz. Like, they're trying to humanize this fucking dude. And she ends up just living with him. She just ends up being the new caregiver for Leatherface at the end of the movie. Texas Chainsaw 3D, we are giving you a 3 out of 10 rating.
Do your thing, cuz.
So I saved this one for near the end of the video. This is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And in my opinion, this is the best one. I already know I'm going to get a bunch of shit for liking this one the most. And overall, we're going to give it an 8 out of 10. Personally, to me, I would give it a 10 out of 10 or at least a 9 out of 10. But I am a critic. I can totally see why a lot of people don't really fuck with this one. But it's dingy. It's dark. It's edgy. And although Leatherface acts more retarded in this one than he does in any of the other movies, It is the true sequel to the first one. It's not some new family with Leatherface like the other ones try to do. It is the Sawyer family picking up where they left off. But in this one, they added the most badass character in the series.
I know what you're thinking. This is weird, huh? But I can handle it. Music is my life.
Remember Nubbins, the hitchhiker, who's the brother of Leatherface that we meet before Leatherface in the first one? Well, this is his twin brother. And his name is Chop Top, and he was in the war in Vietnam during the events of the first one.
Good night.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Rubber man.
Rubber man, I like him.
And in a bit of excitement, Leatherface actually hits him in the head with a chainsaw, showing the scar that he got from the war. And he just adds to the movie exactly what it needed. And to be honest, without him, the movie wouldn't have been so great.
Hey, lick my plate, you dog dick.
He's grimy, he's nasty, and his character is perfect. I'll try to get through the rest of the video without riding the Chop Top train too much, but he is a cool ass character. And I think what most fans don't really like about this one is the comedy that kind of went into it as well. See, in the first one, there is really no comedy. It is just nothing but a family of disgusting, cannibalistic people who are killing these kids. Teenagers. But in this one, Leatherface has a love interest, some of the kills are funny, and Chop Top is hilarious.
You gotta run for that money now. Chase that dollar. Gotta go fast to catch it. You dumb baboons are too dumb to even feel. I'm tired of kicking your asses.
And they bring back Drayton from the first one as well, which is the only one to do it, with Jim Sado being the actor. But I think it's because he died before any of the other ones were made. And look who else makes an appearance. The dried, decrepit corpse of the hitchhiker, Nubbits.
Oh, man.
They went over the top for this one with the effects, the makeup, the scene design. And I understand that Leatherface is the main character and everybody loves him most, but these movies were meant to be a Sawyer family killing spree, not just Leatherface.
The saw is family.
Chop Top ended up being such a loved character by everybody who watched this movie that the son of the original director of the first one wanted to make a separate movie called All American Massacre with Chop Top as the lead. As much as I'm hyping this movie up, Dennis Hopper, the guy who plays Lefty, one of the main characters in this movie, says this is the worst movie he's ever been in. And I don't know why, this movie is fucking baller.
What the hell's going on here?
This movie has a fucking chainsaw fight against Leatherface and Lefty, a concept that they have never put into any of the other movies. And it was fucking dope, like the battle is badass, Leatherface gets mortally wounded, and a shit ton of them blow up by a grenade. Beyond the Valley of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the original name for the second one, and it was supposed to be way different apparently. From the research that I've done, it was going to be an entire town of cannibals and not just the Sawyer family. But I'm not mad at how it was made. I mean, following the Sawyer family only makes sense if you're going to do a part 2 to the original. And with a budget of $4.7 million and box officing $8 million, it's not the best, but it's definitely a huge profit, like millions of dollars profit. And I watched all these movies from release date, from oldest to newest. And as much as I like some of them afterwards, and as much as I hate some of them afterwards, none of them ever grasped me like this one did. This one had its own edge that none of them even came close to trying to grasp, and it definitely deserves an 8 out of 10 for that. And I know I can't be alone in my opinion that this is the best film in the series. Now we're getting to the end of the video with only 2 more movies left in the franchise. And this one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, the first remake they've ever done. And in creating this remake, they actually started a tumble effect where a lot of other horror movies started doing remakes because they made a remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And like all of you, or at least most of you, I for one hate remakes. I think the original is always better. But I gotta hand it to them, this is a really good remake. And I think it was by design to be a good remake because the same directors and the same producers from the first one actually came back to make this remake. The movie starts out with a group of friends in a van once again, and they're on their way to a concert. On the way to the concert, they're driving through this shithole town and they pick up this girl. And then this girl blows her fucking head off. I really like the moral dilemma it kind of gives to the dynamic of the group because they're on their way to the concert and in their mind they're like, well, what the hell do we do with this body? Do we throw it on the side of the road? Do we call the police? Like we have to make it to this concert in time and we don't know this girl, so it kind of pulls you in a little bit like that. It's kind of like a what would you do scenario. And they added the new concept of mercy killing in this movie, which they haven't done in the franchise so far. And for some weird reason, I do like when it happens in horror movies. So the main character sees her friend tied up in Leatherface's, one of his iconic meat hooks, and she has the opportunity to either just leave him there and suffer the consequences of Leatherface, or mercy kill him and take her friend out, which she chooses the latter. But afterwards, she does the most damage to Leatherface that we've seen since the second movie, pulling out a cleaver and hacking Leatherface all over his body. And if you thought it couldn't get better, we get a face reveal for the first time, and this dude is so ugly and missing a nose. But like all movies in the franchise, they gotta change the name up sometimes. It's not the Sawyer family in this one, it is the Hewitt family. I know, spooky. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 gets a well-deserved 7.5 out of 10. It's a great remake. Now we've come to the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the list. This one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Beginning, which is a prequel to the one we just did, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. And it's a pretty good prequel in the sense that it tells you some stuff you didn't know in the last one, like for example, how they started becoming cannibals in the first place. It's a pretty sad story as well, so the two main characters are in a loving relationship and they plan on having kids, having a house, having a family, getting married, but they get caught up in this sadistic family that wants to kill and eat them, and they soon realize they'll never have the life they wanted to. And she actually witnesses Leatherface murdering her boyfriend and then peeling his face off. Leatherface is a psycho fuck in this movie, as well as the rest of them, but in this one he has a different mask than usual, donning a half mask made of what appears to be material such as duct tape rather than a human face for half the movie. The movie is a bit forgetful when looking at the grand scheme of the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe. Not as forgetful as the third one, but it's around there. But it's not as bad as it. As a matter of fact, it's actually a lot better if you're comparing the two. The kills in this one are pretty good. They're actually pretty fucking gruesome. But I don't think this prequel was better than the actual remake itself. Yes, this movie does pull on your heartstrings at times throughout it, but I think the dynamic of the group in the original remake is much better than the group in this movie. And to close off the series, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Beginning will be getting a 4.5 out of 10. Alright guys, if you made it to the end of this video, I just want to say I really appreciate it. Leave a like and subscribe. It'll let me know that the channel is building traction. I do want to make more videos like this. I'd like to do it with another franchise in the horror genre. And let me know what you think in the comments. If some of the ratings you didn't think are fair, let me know. I tried to be as unbiased as I can, and I think I was fair for every single one. But if there was one that I gave a low rating that happens to be your favorite, let me know why in the comments. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and happy late Halloween.